right, for segment 1 today, I've got a disclaimer to make outside of the other disclaimers that you're probably getting ready to fast forward through. And that is, I have not read a single word of this.
Outstanding.
This is going to be a 3-parter that I am not even going to have to, piece together how I want to talk about it, but literally just read through it. What is this next paragraph going to tell me? Is it worth reading? I don't know. We're about to find out because I didn't read anything for what we need to do today. But that's what's cool about the deep dives, or in this case, literally a read through, is because we can learn the game together. If you want informative content, you come back for segment 2, and then we'll dose it down into little half-hour snippets. Right?
Right.
There we go. It's supposed to be my what's his name?
Yes, sir.
yeah. God, I can't think. Johnny. I know Johnny Cars. I can't think of the other guy's name. Yeah. So
I love the Swami.
Anywho, the disclaimer that gets us kicked off the Palladium Discord. We believe that role-playing games should take place in fantastic worlds, that the focus of the game should be on role-playing and having a good time. The core values of #RPGate and any, including Palladium, good tabletop group, are escapism, not representation, entertainment over activism, and natural, organic inclusion, not forced diversity. In fact, we are so inclusive here that Heathen Dog is going to talk about the Coalition Heroes of Humanity in segment 2.
I am. And I'm going to show you exactly what inclusion is. All races of humanity unite against everyone else because they're bad.
The charity we support is the Wounded Warrior Project, a national nonpartisan organization whose mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. Again, refer to the link on the screen or below, or scan that little guy. He's got a happy little face in the middle of it. You want to scan him. Join us on Thursdays and Saturday evenings on twitch.tv/legionofmyth to watch Wow, you're a Heathen Dog now. Heathen Dog and his team of dirty casuals play multiplayer games for mockery and enjoyment. And when we get these MechWarrior 5 clips up, there'll be some enjoyment and some mockery.
And some mockery, yeah. There'll be a little bit of mockery in there.
It's all from your perspective. Like, I was actually watching one of them to see where I was playing, and the only one I saw was when I was running circles around Arden Sortek. It's like, oh, I am running circles around him. Anyway, here on our YouTube channel, you can watch these game-related segments live every Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, or check out the Friday Night Chill stream, where our panel of guests opine, comment, and editorialize on the TTRPG hobby as a whole. And as I like to say, this is a live stream podcast discussion, not a concise step-by-step tutorial. This is literally a read-through today. So, if you don't think we're going to go off topic, or if you want a 15-minute segment that tells you step-by-step how to do stuff, not today.
That's not what this is.
That's not what this is. No.
And of course, like and subscribe, because we're awesome, and you're awesome if you do.
Yeah,
so you can be awesome.
It's like the guy who could have gone to heaven last week, but chose not to.
1 penny shy. It's crazy.
Why would you do that? Why would you?
I don't know.
Oh, I should probably get the book up, huh?
It's a good idea.
Since we're actually in the segment right now, right?
Pro streamer. Yeah. Pro streamer. There you go.
There's the book. And can you get my banner up, please?
Sure. Segment.
I'm the orange one.
Boom.
That one. Well, I beat you to it. Okay. Stop. Shh. Don't need that on the screen there. Hey, why are you showing my bottom window? Okay, hold on. Apparently my pro streaming is even extra pro today.
You're awful.
I am. But not because of this.
Off topic. Off topic gaming live streamer OGL. Nice.
There you go.
There it is.
There you go. Okay, so Mutant Chronicles. We've talked about a little bit of the background of the factions. Not much. You can get the book if you really care more about the factions, right? But talk about the factions. We talked about generally how you roll the dice, how you play the game. We've talked about some combat. We've talked about how to make a character. Mm-hmm. We've talked about all the good things, but what are the bad things in the game? And we've mentioned a little bit Dark Symmetry, right?
Yeah. What sounds ominous and magic and evil.
And all the above there is true. So let's take a look at what Dark Symmetry is. And we're just going to go in the order of the book, which is the Dark Symmetry Pool. So we had momentum and chronicle points for players, right?
Right. And I'm gathering from, momentum pool for players, chronicle pool for players. I'm assuming this is a dark symmetry. Since it's evil, it's got to be for the game master, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because everything evil is for the game master.
That is how I understand it. Yes.
All right. So I'm not going to read the first few paragraphs here. They look like they're boring, but I do want to start with what it represents, because that tells me that, hey, the game is now going to tell me, what the purpose of this is, right? Dark Symmetry Pool is a game mechanic that reflects a key element of the Mutant Chronicles setting.
Key element. The
Dark Symmetry. I don't know why that just made me laugh, but it did. Every sentence, just find 2 words just to repeat in the background, okay? The Dark Symmetry is an insidious, corrupting influence that pervades the culture, resources, and technology of society.
Insidious and corrupting.
That was 3 words. It warps the minds and bodies of... What's this?
That's gross. I would need a new spacesuit if I saw that.
Yeah,
I need a change. I would need a new one.
Yeah, I would too. Okay, wait. What? Because it warps the minds and bodies of heretics and empowers ghastly creatures from a darker, more sinister reality. Well,
sinister reality. Yeah, I'm gonna stop doing that. But but warping the minds of heretics is good.
No, it's what turns them into heretics.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay.
The GM spends points from the pool to fuel certain special effects, trigger events, or introduce complications the player characters must contend with. These represent the subtle but ubiquitous presence of the Dark Symmetry's foul influence. So we get the idea of what Dark Symmetry is for. It is for the GM to make your day go bad.
From the way they're talking about it, it's instead of like a consequence of the player's actions, it's more of a pervasive dark side of the force type thing. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. If you remember way back in like our first or second episode, we talked about that Dark Symmetry corrupts technology.
Sure.
It's invasive into everything. That's why it's the diesel punk setting and not just some sort of, pristine sci-fi with, spooks. So starting Dark Symmetry points. How does the game master start the game? At the beginning of each session, the pool begins with 1 Dark Symmetry point for each chronicle point the player characters have.
Oh my god. So that means he can have up to 5 per player? The game master can have up to 5 per player. Because you can start with 5. Each player can. And if they max themselves out, let's say there's 5 players, that means he starts off with 25 Dark Symmetry points? What the hell, man?
That's just the next sentence goes into that. If the group is formed of 4 players with 3 chronicle points each, the GM begins the session with 12 Dark Symmetry.
God, I can team wipe some bitches with 12 Dark Symmetry points in the first encounter.
Well, that's why you're supposed to be judicious with it, and this is why I go back to the part where I like momentum, because this is just game master momentum, right? Well, I guess it'd be more like game master
and chronicle point.
Yeah, same. Whatever. I like it. It's too pervasive. It's too gamey. To me, it's less role playing and more how do I game these points?
Well, now I'm going to reserve judgment to see exactly how they're used.
Fair.
So, it may be like, it takes 3 or 4 Dark Synergy points to do this one thing. Well, then you're going to blow through them pretty quick.
That's absolutely true. In fact, the more powerful character or NPC you're using against the group, the more points you have to spend to do things.
Oh, like a lieutenant level or whatever. Yeah. It takes 3, 4, 5, whatever, bring him on the field.
Right. And I don't know if this chapter is going to say it. I might be dead wrong in this, but my perception of that is because otherwise you've already got a character, an NPC with a stronger attributes, right? And more skills and probably a bigger gun or mind-fooling power. Well, you could, like you just said, you could wipe somebody off the planet round 1 if you've got those 25 points. Or 12 points, as this might be. So in order to activate the stuff, it costs more.
Okay. All right.
That's my guess. That's how I see it without getting into. So let's see what it says. Number of ways they may be added to Symmetry Pool. Dark Symmetry. Some of these effects are based on specific actions occurring, while others are based on the environment in which an encounter is taking place. That is right. If you remember, now I know this was talking about, what's that term? Dread?
Yep.
You go into a dark, creepy place.
That's
you're starting
the dark side of the force. Yeah.
Yeah, you're messing with stuff. But do you also remember where it said that, hey, players, you're taking too long to decide what you're doing? I think I'm going to give myself a dark symmetry. Again, watch previous videos on that one. When a player character generates complications or repercussions during a skill test, the GM may choose to increase his dark symmetry pool. For each repercussion generated during a skill test, the GM may introduce a complication to the story to represent the impact of repercussions. Alternatively, he can add 2 dark symmetry points for each repercussion. So if you really just want to sit there and stare at your players like as in he, you don't have to do anything. You just go click click with your 2 more beads or poker chips or whatever you're using, or your percentile dice, because you're that kind of GM that's going to save up 50 of these things.
Yeah. Well, I flubbed my roll, and that means my gun jam, right? Not this time.
You just wish it jammed. Voluntary failure.
Uh-oh.
That never sounds good, does it?
No, that sounds bad.
Sometimes the odds are stacked against the player so heavily that rather than risk a roll and having something truly catastrophic happen, the player would rather just accept a simple failure.
That is, you know what, that makes sense, because you're rolling so many d20s sometimes that if you botch on more than one, or if the number of successes is way too high, it's not cost effective, you'll say screw it. But voluntary failure, just don't do it. Don't do the action. I don't understand. Well, hopefully you'll explain it to me.
The player gives the GM 1 dark symmetry point. In exchange, the character gains 1 chronicle point. Okay, well now...
Okay, there's a give and take. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The GM should use his discretion to ensure this option is not abused by players as a grab for chronicle points. Why? Because that's a grab for me for dark symmetry points.
I mean, fine.
Please, do it! The GM may wish to limit voluntary failure to certain types of tasks or tasks of a certain difficulty level. Regardless...
That sounds fair.
Yeah, I agree with that. Come on, this is too simple. Unless you're like, oh, I don't know why I can't grab this file from the computer, evil people that are making me give you the secrets to, unless it's something like that. Yeah, if that's your profession, it might be a little difficult to fail a rudimentary task.
Right.
Regardless, the goal is to prevent players from making up excuses for incidental skill tests that have little impact on the narrative. Well, sure. Okay, no, I have a problem with this.
Why?
The sentence shouldn't even exist. Players don't come up with skill tests. Only the game master asks for die rolls.
Skill tests don't happen until the GM calls for it. So yeah.
If you want to make me angry at a table, say, hey, can I roll? No. But I was going to, no. Shh. I'll tell you when to roll. Tell me what you're doing with your character. And then, that sounds like a shooty test. Go ahead, roll your shooty.
This actually sounds really ominous and cool. Crafty says at the table he uses metal bowls with glass beads for all of these pools, all of his pools. So when he drops one in,
ting, 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 ting.
It actually makes an auditory and visible impact on all the characters. So yeah, that is pretty good. That is pretty good. I like that. It's very showman-y. I like it.
Player investment. One of the most common ways for the Dark Symmetry Pool to grow will be from player investment.
Yes, players sow the seeds of their own destruction.
Here, can you please? I'm investing in some Dark Symmetry.
Oh no, you want some chronicle points, or you want some momentum? Sure. Let's see how it's done.
Is this like not even the proverbial, but because of where Dark Symmetry comes from, the literal deal with the devil?
Yeah.
Players can pay for additional d20s to roll during a skill test. We've talked about that. At the cost of 1 dark symmetry, and I bet you it says per die. Point added to the pool for each d20 the player would like to add to the roll. Up to a maximum of 3.
For 3 bonus d20s. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Now remember, if you didn't watch the previous videos, this is a 2d20 system. You start with 2. The maximum number of 20s you can roll in a single test is 5. You can't buy more than that. You can't get more than that through circumstance or equipment or whatever. 5 is your maximum. Yeah,
there were a couple of comments that made sure that that we understood that. I was like, I did understand that. No, you really didn't. 5. You made it sound like you were confused. I wasn't confused. Yeah. We were kind of working this through in our head as we're reading it.
Yeah. And you can only buy 3 by giving the GM Dark Symmetry points.
So, yeah. I think that's a way to make sure that GMs can't let you say, yes, you can have 7. I don't care.
Oh yeah, sure. Give me all that.
Where's my metal bowl? My beads? Cling, cling, cling,
Ding,
cling,
ding, ding,
cling.
ding, ding, ding.
Oh, I'm going
I
to use
won the lottery.
pennies. Yeah, from now on, I'm using pennies.
There
When
you
those things
go.
bounce in the bowl.
They're all bad pennies, bitch.
Yeah.
They all land tail side up.
Some generators grant a fixed number of Dark Symmetry points at the beginning of an encounter in which the generator is involved. Examples could be entering a cursed location, like we talked about before with the repercussions.
Oh, okay.
Or I'm sorry, the dread. So you have now entered the Temple of Evil. Clink. What? Yep. You've entered the antechamber of more evil. Clink, clink. You have entered. Okay, I'm done. Examples could be entering a cursed location, reading a heretical text about a dark apostle. See, that's very Call of Cthulhu-like, isn't it?
It is. It is. I mean, the more you understand about the mythos, the more insane you become.
And here, the more darkness surrounds you.
The more powerful the GM's guys are.
Or the more you turn to the dark side.
Oh,
which we'll get to.
I'm immune to turning to the dark side.
Okay. Or encountering a powerful entity tethered to the Dark Symmetry. Other generators grant Dark Symmetry points when a specific trigger occurs. This is usually only 1 point at a time, but especially powerful events may warrant more points. Examples could be granting 1 or more points when creature of Dark Legion generates momentum. So wait. Time out. Okay, now is where you can maybe correct me or clarify this. I'm sure Crafty's going to send me a book in chat anyway. So not only did my NPC get momentum, but I can say screw it and say that's worth a Dark Symmetry?
If it is really, really evil and dramatic. The example I would give, whereas the player characters are going to rescue someone who is taken by the evil minions, and you get there just as the person is sacrificed on an altar and guts ripped open. That right there, with that roll, gives everyone their momentum, all the bad guys momentum, but it also generates lots of Dark Symmetry.
I mean, I get that, and I think that's a really good example of that. It's just, so I get momentum and Dark Symmetry, because isn't momentum just GM Dark Symmetry?
I think we're going to see in a minute, but I think Dark Symmetry has a broader range of effect than just momentum.
Okay. Well, so I don't want to call it the confusing, but the question I have, or is it just another word for it? Like, you're not really generating momentum as player characters do, you're generating Dark Symmetry. I mean, that's not the way this reads, but I'm just saying, I'm wondering if that could be an option. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's both, because your bad guys, if they score enough successes, can get momentum, right? But not Dark Symmetry. And sure. I guess vice versa could be,
okay,
same.
Or an artifact that grants. I got you. Where's it? Or an artifact that grants 1 point per combat round until it has been secured in a special container.
Jesus, that is some evil stuff.
Yeah.
That is a evil little tchotchke or whatever.
All right, Dark Symmetry gains. Here's a brief summary of the various ways GMs can gain Dark Symmetry points. All right, well, here we go.
Here we are. All right.
Method of Dark Symmetry generation. Each repercussion generated by players. 2, or just give them a complication. Right. And there are different types of complications you can do. Again, I still like the way Coriolis does this a little better, but one of the ways, if you remember, let's use something we've already had an example of. If you go back to character creation, remember that character that I made was an addict, and what was the other one? Oh, and he had an enemy, a nemesis. Yeah. Well, right now that addiction could be popping in. It's just like that airplane movie thing. I picked the wrong day to quit methamphetamines.
Okay, yeah, but if the game master, did that for like, oh my. I got a repercussion from something that is not mental at all. And it's oh, your addiction came up. My gun jammed. I suddenly want meth. That doesn't make any sense.
You jonesing, man?
No. I would call BS on that. It has to be psychological, a failure of some kind of talent or skill that is psychological in nature. Then I would understand that.
I spent 2 points. I can make you do what you want. It's on your character sheet. That is a complication. I can do it. No, I get what you're saying. And don't give Heathen Dog credit for that. I said it.
It's true. We both did that. We're good. But I'm on a roll, so let's keep
Okay, fair enough. Player voluntarily fails the skill test. Okay, there's one.
Sure. Yep.
Players purchase an additional D20 for a skill test. Okay, we are talking. Sure. Dark Symmetry Generate. Okay, we talked about all this. I wanted to see something new and interesting.
Well, maybe it continues.
Nope, it doesn't.
Nope, it doesn't. That's how you get Dark Symmetry. Now, how do we spend Dark Symmetry? That's what I want to know.
So
how does the GM screw everyone over?
It has the final say, yada yada. So let's see. Let's go right here. Heathen Dog wants to know. Some particularly powerful or experienced NPCs may have access to potent abilities. These abilities may require the GM to spend a certain number of Dark Symmetry points to activate. Okay. Individual NPC descriptions will note if an ability requires Dark Symmetry points.
Okay. So all of the minions of the darkness have special abilities granted to them by this evil force, but to use them, they apparently have to burn. The GM has to burn some Dark Symmetry points because they're that powerful. I get it. I get that. Sure.
Let's see if okay. I'm looking at special abilities. Flight. Okay. Slave to Symmetry looks like it costs 3. Supernatural Awareness looks like it costs 1. I wish it had an example here. Dark Symmetry Spend. Here we go. This is for a beast called the Torn Spewer. Oh, that just sounds lovely.
The Spewer. That sounds great.
Yeah. Black Rot Spray. If a creature dies from damage caused by the virulent spray, or the virulent spray is used directly upon a corpse, then 1 Dark Symmetry point can be spent to animate the corpse as a cadaver.
Oh my god.
As a cadaver spelled with a K, not a C.
That's not right. That's not right.
So anyway, that just gives an example of how a point can be spent.
See, I would also cause that to give everyone some dread, because that is some scary shit that just happened.
Yeah. I would wonder about that, though. In a universe that's kind of built around that, what would be dreadful versus what wouldn't?
Well, think about this. Billy just went down.
Mm-hmm.
And then Billy got sprayed by some corrupt bile nonsense, and then Billy gets up. Billy, you're up. That's great. And then Billy turns around like, oh my God, Billy, what happened to your face? And then Billy goes like that. And so, yeah, dread. Yeah, okay. Dread. Got it. Check.
Now, if you didn't like Billy and you wanted to shoot him anyway, maybe not.
Like, oh God, I get to shoot Billy. That's awesome. You don't get dread. Everyone else does. You hated that. You hated that guy. That guy.
You're like, yes, I knew it.
Ate your food out of the fridge. Screw Billy.
You know that story, don't you?
Oh yeah. Billy got to go.
Oh, Billy, thank you. Okay. Individual NPC. Spreading it. The GM can attempt to corrupt equipment used by the characters, reflecting the insidious nature of Dark Symmetry to wreak havoc upon technology.
Makes sense.
Similarly, Dark Symmetry points may be used to corrupt locations. This is starting to sound like raw magic from Earthdawn.
Yeah.
Tainting them, with a malign presence, or to corrupt people, unleashing their worst flaws and darkest nature. See, addiction, dick.
Okay, there you go. But again,
I get it. It doesn't really necessarily.
I want it to make sense for the character.
Yeah. For details, see Chapter 15, Corruption Falling to Darkness. Oh, it's funny. We're going to be covering that today. Unless you're watching on YouTube later, then it will be in a couple of days.
There you go.
Performing response actions. As with player characters, NPCs cannot make response actions freely. By spending 1 Dark Symmetry point, a GM can allow an NPC to perform a response action, such as attempting to parry an attack or lying down covering fire for another NPC. So, naturally speaking, and to me, this is just a Dark Symmetry sink, just as it's a momentum sink. Sure. Like, oh, you want to dodge? Oh, no, you have to give me a point. Yeah, it's one of those where I'm kind of in the gray area of whether I like it or not.
Yeah, it seems like the game master's taking advantage at this point.
Seizing initiative during combat. Now, this is an important one. During combat encounters and other action scenes, all player characters act first during a round. We talked about that last week. Followed by all of the NPCs. Before a player character acts, the GM may spend Dark Symmetry points to interrupt the initiative order and allow one of the NPCs to act.
This, most of the time, is just going to be a Dark Symmetry point sink. Something the GM can dump his symmetry points into. But every once in a while, this is going to be used to really, really mess up the players.
Mm-hmm. Interrupting initiative costs Dark Symmetry points for each NPC the GM wishes to act out of turn. So if you've got 4 NPCs, you're going to have to spend 4 if you want all 4 of them to go first.
Sure.
The cost of this varies based on the class of NPC, troopers, elite, nemesis, as described later. If the GM wishes the NPCs can act during the player's turn, it costs... Wait, what? If the GM wishes the NPCs act during the player's turn, it costs the listed amount of Dark Symmetry points. Oh, okay.
Depending on the kind of NPC, trooper, elite, and nemesis.
GM wishes the NPCs to act before the player's turn. It costs 1 more Dark Symmetry point than the listed amount. Oh, so basically was that like surprise? So if you want to...
No, I think it's more like if you spend the Dark Symmetry points plus 1 more, they go before, whereas it said before they go during.
Yeah, but they always go last. So what does during mean?
During means they take turns, I guess. But this one's before. This one sounds like more vampire celerity, like they use Dark Symmetry to move so fast they blur, which means they go.
I would have to see it in action to.
I really would too. Yeah, I'd have to see it
because I want to say in terms of language, it makes sense, but I'm trying to picture it. If players always go first, and I can spend a point to steal the initiative, okay, I spend a point. Why do I have to spend an extra point to double steal the initiative? Like,
yeah, that the way it's written, it doesn't immediately make sense. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Interrupting initiative with troopers costs 1 Dark Symmetry point. Interrupting with elites costs 2 Dark Symmetry points. Interrupting with a nemesis costs 3 Dark Symmetry points. Oh, great, lovely, because that character I rolled up has a nemesis. That means it's pretty powerful.
As noted above, acting before all players costs 1 additional. See, that doesn't make sense. You've already going first. That means you're acting before all players. Why do I have to spend another point? Crafty, help me out.
He's got something in chat. Okay, but it's not that. Yes, in fact, it does say when we made the nemesis, maybe it was just when I did the character creation video, and you guys haven't seen it, but yes, nemesis is equal to PCs. Yes. Okay, summon reinforcements. Sometimes the player characters dominate an encounter or clear through a combat in record time. Other times, the GM may wish to increase the tension, add some complexity to a key scene. One way to do this is by summoning reinforcements using Dark Symmetry points.
Okay, this is actually good because it stops the game master from having to fudge die rolls. Because if the player characters just get real lucky in their rolls and they start blowing through your encounter that you didn't want to have them blow through, you can spend Dark Symmetry points to get reinforcements for the bad guys.
Yeah, my only issue with this, and I don't think it takes away what I'm saying, is I like to use reinforcements on a timer die.
All right. Well, you're the game master. You can choose when to spend the Dark Symmetry points, right? You set up your own time.
Yeah, I got you. But I mean, I like the players to see the timer die.
Oh, okay. But not everyone knows exactly when reinforcements.
Oh no. I get that, but it's a tension builder.
Oh, all right, fair enough. Yeah. But hey, if you have that metal bowl with pennies, you've already got it.
Fair, yeah, right.
So you don't need anything else.
This is something that Coriolis does well. I know you hear me comparing this to Coriolis a lot. It's because this feature is very similar to what Coriolis does with its Darkness Between the Stars, and we'll be covering that towards the end of the year. But so this is something I'm actually kind of used to. I do like this conceptually. The amount of Dark Symmetry points depends on the relative power of the reinforcement summoned. A trooper NPC costs 1 Dark Symmetry point to summon, whether joining an existing horde or squad or operating alone. My God, why can't I talk?
I don't know.
An elite NPC costs 2 Dark Symmetry points.
Sure.
Summoned reinforcements appear at the end of the round in which they were summoned, after all other actions. That's so quick.
Yeah, but there's trooper, elite, and then nemesis. It doesn't say anything about summoning a nemesis.
Well, my guess is that, okay, we already know it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Do we really have to put 3 in here?
But it said it every other time. It actually listed the cost every other time. But now it's suspiciously absent. Maybe you can't summon a nemesis level threat with Dark Symmetry points as reinforcements.
Yeah, I disagree with that, Crafty. I think that's a stupid concept. If you don't trust your game master, don't play the game. I do not like, and Omanol says the same thing. I do not like the idea like this gets player buy-in. I don't care about player buy-in. You're buying in by being at the table. When Heathen Dog runs a game, I expect him to be fair. If if we're all of a sudden attacked by something really weird that's way out of our league, I'm sure he's got a point to it, or he hates us and we'll never show up again. I don't need points, so I don't like it in that vein. Player buy-in. Triggering a complication. A character may struggle with some sort of long-term or ongoing condition. Okay. Niggling effects of a critical injury, addiction to alcohol or drugs, there it is again, a severe phobia, there's that one, or even a thinly disguised hatred for a rival freelancer. I hate you so much,
Billy. Damn it, Billy.
Yeah, Billy.
I'm glad you're dead.
Yeah. By spending Dark Symmetry point, GM may choose to trigger one of these complications. All right.
Okay, see, I would screw the game master over just by always carry meth with me.
You're right.
You feel the need to have meth. Okay.
No. Actually, when I made the character, it says it's a difficulty 1 roll, so it's fairly simple.
Sure.
To get whatever your addiction is. What if your addiction though is your David Duchovny?
Sex?
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, it doesn't just have to be drugs. Is my point.
Sure.
What if your addiction is? I'm trying to think of some weird stuff that people are addicted to that I can actually say on a live stream. Anyway, drugs is the easy one, and I agree with you on that. Always have that pint next to you. Always have that little needle next
Always
to you. Whatever.
Whatever.
All right,
well,
triggering.
You're at -1 to everything because you don't have. No, I do. I have it. There you go. Yep. Minus what you say? Nah, I'm good.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, you were -1 before because you were jonesing. Now you're -1 because you can't see clearly.
Yeah, but now I feel good.
Yeah, right.
Took away that dread, didn't it?
All right. Everything's difficulty higher, but I have no dread, so leave me alone. It's all good, man. All right. Oh, Brave the Knight became a Centurion. Welcome, sir. Glad to see you here. Also, I should thank Baron Von Girock, who snuck in a membership before he even started the stream.
Boom. Look at that. Brave the Knight did too. Look at that.
So thank you. Get to access to the members only live stream on the last Friday of the month. Well, actually, you'll have access to all of them now. Also, if that account is tied with a Discord account, you'll have access to our private discussion areas on Discord. All right. So now this one's an interesting one because, again, I don't know if Free League copied this or whatever, but it is something you can do in the Free League game, so I'm used to this as well. Triggering an environmental effect. Dramatic scenes often play out in exciting environments. A firefight in a crumbling tenement building, a chase scene through an underground crypt, a chasm over a lava flow that must be crossed. When describing encounters, the GM is encouraged to provide details to the player to help them visualize the scene. All right, Thanks for the GM help there, which is good. I mean, I mean, that sounded sarcastic, but I was serious.
It did.
Sometimes it can be interesting or add to the immersion to bring the environment alive through the use of Dark Symmetry points.
Oh, I get it. Cause the lava to start bubbling up and causing a hazard, or the crumbling tenement building that you're fighting in is now falling down because of your firefight.
Let's use the lava thing for a moment. You remember the fight scene between Obi-Wan and Anakin, right?
Sure.
They're running across whatever the hell
the Dark Symmetry complication is when all of the force fields failed and the whole place started to crumble. Okay,
yeah, and the thing started falling into the.
I get it. Yeah.
All right. Examples include flickering lights, crumbling walls, or machinery belching thick smoke. Sure. I like the word belching. These types of effects generally make skill tests more difficult by 1 step. So, what does that mean? You have to have an extra success. Or potentially impair the character. Magnitude 2 effects are much more significant and may impede progress or potentially harm the characters. Now you've got your falling building. Examples include... What's that?
Crafty said the giant boulder in Indiana Jones.
We're not playing Conan. Stop with the Indiana Jones. We're talking sci-fi.
That is one that can kill you. Yeah. That is a complication that's not just hindering you. It could literally crush you to death.
When we do Conan, you can do Indiana Jones. Now pick sci-fi. God.
Fair enough.
Examples include splashing acid, falling blocks, an open flame igniting something, a fierce gust of wind battering the character. God, I did that to a bard in AD&D. The last thing he saw before he splatted on the ground were the wafts of paper that said, "Fill out these forms to cast your spell." You know, cursed ring. Yeah, the ring of bureaucratic wizardry.
Yep.
These types of effects generally make skill tests more difficult by 1 or 2 steps and may inflict light wounds, mental wounds, or short-term status effects. Interesting. All right, let's take a look here. Again, I know we're doing a lot of reading. That's because I didn't read it at all, but we don't have to read everything. But let's look at some options. I think this is a good chart for the folks to see. What do you think?
Yeah, it's good.
Except for I can't zoom in the way I want to.
All of it. Yeah, to make it visible all the way. I understand.
Oh, dick. Whatever. You know, we're going to have it there. Hopefully you can see it. So activate a special ability. Well, we already kind of covered one. I picked one out of the book here that one of the creatures had. That was for 1 point. You can make a cadaver with a K pop up, right? So the cost depends on the ability. See the individual ability's description for more details. Got it. A corruption roll, 1 per die. Well, what is corruption? We'll find out in the next episode.
Well, it says right here, make a damage roll. I can't read it.
Make a damage roll against items reliability. If greater or equal.
Oh, no, we already covered this. Corrupting an item or technology. Okay.
Yeah, we haven't specifically gone over the reliability, but his weapons do have a reliability.
Spaceballs. When Lone Star jammed their radar.
There you go.
Corruption roll.
There you go. Yes. All right. If greater than equal to item stuff, there's 1 level of corruption. Now, and we will talk about corruption in the next video.
Okay.
Perform response action. So that's your dodge, parry, whatever.
Sure.
That's your Palladium dodge, parry, roll, punch, fall. Seize initiative varies, as we've already talked about what those options are. Summon reinforcements. Well, I guess you can't summon a nemesis.
Look at that. I was right. They left it out on purpose.
All right. Trigger complication. Well, there you go. There's your nemesis. Because if your complication, which, like I said, that character I rolled had was a nemesis, it could be done. Yeah. I think I'd take it, make it cost more than 3.
Make it cost 3 or 4. Yeah.
Trigger environment, 1 for major, 1 minor, 2 for majors. We just mentioned a moment ago. Inspired dread, increase a player's dread by 1. That seems kind of expensive for 1 until you think about how easy it is to pile that dread up and what it does to the character.
Sure.
And reload. That's right. What? I forgot about that.
Can you read that for me?
The creature gains the effect of spending 1 reload per Dark Symmetry point spent on his current attack. That is true. If you do not have any Dark Symmetry points, your NPCs are out of ammo.
Really?
Yes.
They can't even reload their own weapons unless you spend Dark Symmetry points.
It just means they're out of ammo. They blew through it all.
Wow. Yep. Okay. Well, that is a giant Dark Symmetry point sink right there, especially for a protracted combat.
And if I remember correctly, using the Coriolis thing again, I think it's the same in Coriolis. You have to spend a darkness point in order to do that.
Okay. All right.
Okay. We don't need to read about that, dude. And so let's take a look at something here. Let's look at this dark. So what is this creature? Oh, is that this guy? Is that who this guy is? Oh, it is this guy, Zax. Okay. So this is a dude. I don't care about his background.
He's all corrupted and whatnot, apparently.
Yeah. Let's look at his dark symmetry. He's got a dark gift. Zaxus is a valued servant of Semi. That doesn't sound good. And has been bestowed with the power to wield the dark gifts of the Corruptor's pattern. Zaxus knows the following dark gifts: obfuscation, true fear, snare, the unwilling mind. Okay, well,
all that sounds ominous, but I don't know what they do. But
yeah, exactly. None. Okay, well, we're at the end. Okay, there you go, folks. That's. Let's see if we can. It didn't. Apparently, we'll have to find that out, and that'll be actually in the 3rd part of today's. Where we look at the dark gifts.
Okay.
So to keep you hanging, the cliffhanger ends here. If you want to put the subscribe thing, if there's any chat that you started.
I started lots of chat.
Cool. Just know that as of today, the next thing that we're going to talk about, you probably saw it already, is we're going to talk about corruption. And then the 3rd part of today is what the dark gifts are. So you'll have to wait a couple of days if you're watching this as this appears on YouTube. Yeah. What can he spend those points on?
Now let's look at the comments here. Crafty says, if a toughened or nemesis level NPC rolls a complication, the GM must pay out 2 Dark Symmetry points. Okay. So he can also lose Dark Symmetry if the NPC bad guys flub a roll. He loses Dark Symmetry. Okay, that
I don't remember reading that, but yeah, it might be true.
That's something.
Might have just missed it.
All right. Nemesis level NPCs will get their own personal Dark Symmetry pool. I'm using toughened Nemesis as that is the language I know. Nemesis level are equal to PCs. Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
All right. And then we have Heathen Dog does it again. I love reading that. Let's read that again. Heathen Dog does it again.
No, come on, emphasize the again.
Momentum. GM momentum. Generates it just like PCs generate momentum. Okay. On the topic of skill tests, there are some talents that can swap one skill for another. So the GM may ask for an observation roll, but another skill may be swapped via talent.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. That doesn't really go with what we're talking about today, but it's good to know.
Well, it's because I was talking about the only the GM calls for skill tests.
Right.
That doesn't break my point. It's just
no. Like the skill test isn't going to happen unless the GM calls for it. But because the player has a specific kind of talent, he can swap, the base attribute.
Yep.
At the table, I use the metal bowl thing. Yeah, I just want people to see this. The metal bowl thing. That's a really good idea. Just a little clank every once in a while as they're taking too long to formulate plans and whatnot. That's awesome. I like that. I'm going to use that for all kinds of shit. Got it. Trooper equals mob. GMs can group up to 5 troopers into a mob and roll 5d20 for 1 attack. Elites equal toughen NPCs that can roll 2d20 and can lead mobs. Nemesis equal to PCs. That's the.
We haven't got to that in the book.
That part yet. Okay, I'm sorry about that. We haven't got that part yet. All right. Even Dog does it again. The various pools keep GMs and PCs honest. Players will trust the GM is not fudging. Okay, again, I'm with Max on this. You either trust your GM or you don't. All right. If the GM fudges, which all GMs fudge, stop it. Oh, I always tell you. No, you don't. If you do, you're a bad game master. I'm sorry. Bad at your job. Because sometimes you're just going to have to fudge for either story elements, for play elements, so the players don't get wiped in something stupid that you meant to be a minor complication, but because of the die rolls, it turned into a giant catastrophe.
I say let them die.
That stuff. You're going to fudge it. And so if you don't trust your GM, don't play with them. Don't. That's it.
All right.
Hang on, we got one more.
Okay.
This one's from L. Max, I got it. One NPC can act simultaneous to. This is for jumping initiative. One NPC can act simultaneous to the PC turn instead of the PC going first. Extra point to move to the head of the line to act before the PCs. Is there how would you adjudicate simultaneous actions? I don't remember there being a mechanic for combat.
The closest thing was having basically a reserved action. I forget what the term was in this game, but having that reserved action, like remember when I was talking about Overwatch, when somebody comes around
the
corner, bam,
ready action.
Yeah, but you don't get to go first. I mean, you don't go simultaneously. You just go because that event was triggered. So yeah. I don't exactly. Like I said, I have to see it in action. This is one of the things where, as we're reading through it and we're learning the game, we'll easily hit the Pareto solution 80% and probably the 90 or 95%. But there's going to be a couple percent of things that until we see it.
Crafty says it's not simultaneous. Hopefully, he's typing right now to tell us what it is, because that was the one problem so far in this video that I only had a problem with was this whole jumping initiative order. You either do or you don't, and for some reason it costs 1 or 2. Cost 2 or 3, cost 3 or 4, but I can't understand when.
Yeah, I get PCs go first. Nobody spends anything.
Yeah,
I get Game Master spends Dark Symmetry point, goes before PCs.
But I don't get why there's an extra one to go before PCs again.
Go really before the PC, way before the PCs.
If the NPCs want to interrupt a PC action. Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. Here's the deal. If you want to go before the PCs, you spend 1. If you're just a trooper, if you're just a dark trooper, you spend 1, you jump the initiative, you go first. If the PC starts something like the PC is going to pull this holy sword out of the thing, you spend 2 for that trooper to interrupt that action and go now, trying to stop the PC from doing that.
So it's almost like a reaction.
But it's
at least in that explanation.
Yeah. I mean, that in my example, you didn't go first.
Okay, so there we go. 1 to go first, 2 to interrupt. Okay,
there you go. 1 to go first. Okay,
man, if the book had said that,
I get it now.
By the way, that's damn near technical writing right there.
Yeah,
or is it like that's how it should be written in the book? Not 3 paragraphs of this stuff there. Spend 1 to go first, spend 2 to interrupt next. Okay, bam, got it. And then Violence Solves Everything on Rumble says, spend GM points or no ammo for bad guys, lame. Not in the concept of this type of game. I get where he's coming from. I like to have a little bit more control as the game master over the field of play. But I think it's a neat mechanic in this regard. First of all, game master's characters mysteriously never run out of ammo a lot of times, first of all.
It's very cinematic in that point.
Yeah. Secondly, and I only say this because of the type of game that this is. The game master needs another sink.
No, that is true. I mean, if I'm reading this section correctly, the game master is going to get a lot of dark symmetry points throughout a day, let alone an adventure, So he's got to put it somewhere, or he's just going to railroad over the PCs in the last encounter of the day. Well, I'm going to burn through all this 50 dark symmetry points. Oh, everyone's head splits open and evil dark spirits come out and they rip the souls from your body. I win. Like, no.
And I still have 5 dark symmetry left over.
Yeah, I still have 5 left. So and now here comes the lava. You're like, whatever. Okay. So I get it. Okay.
Go. Like, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned. Tomorrow's video, if you're watching on the day that this posts, will be whatever Heathen Dog's covering in segment 2. And then the day after, you'll get the next one, which you can see on the bottom of the screen. There's Corruption and Falling to Darkness.